150 seats up for grabs and the power to control Washington. Coming up. So you've probably heard of Beto O'Rourke's 2018 Senate campaign, which came within 2 points of turning Texas blue and beating incumbent Republican Ted Cruz. However, what you probably have not heard of is how Beto O'Rourke's Senate campaign allowed Democrats across the state of Texas to ride a blue wave that put them within striking distance of flipping the Texas State House in 2020. Currently, the Texas State House is sitting at a 67 to 83 split, with 67 Democrats and 83 Republicans. And in 2020, Democrats have laid out 22 seats that they think are vulnerable enough to flip. As Donald Trump's approval rating in Texas staggers at around 49%, Democrats have laid out that they are more optimistic than ever about their chances of flipping the Texas State House. The DLCC has announced an ambitious $50 million spending campaign in which they've laid out several key state houses that they are going to target in 2020 with $50 million, and they have placed Texas at the top of the list. An important thing to note is after Obama left office, there were around 33 Republican-controlled state houses. This meant that Republicans had an overwhelming amount of control at the state level, meaning they could control elections, they could control education and healthcare funding. Right now, when we look at Democrats and Republicans' fundraising numbers at the state level, they're both looking pretty strong. The Democratic Party has said that there are very few vulnerable members that were elected in 2018, so really they can focus their fundraising efforts on target candidates that they want to win in 2020. Meanwhile, Republicans, after finishing primary season, have come out pretty strong. There are several political action committees which have raised well over $250,000 and are looking to defend vulnerable state house seats. However, the Democratic Party definitely is more centralized. The DLCC is the main campaign wing of the Democratic Party, also funded by the House Democratic Campaign Committee. So these two committees in general are going to be laying out massive funding dollars and really helping Democrats in the state of Texas win their elections. In the Republican Party, that is not looking quite as strong. The House Republican Campaign Committee does not have a leader like the Democratic Party does. Additionally, at the national level, House Republicans have not been able to fund at the level the House Democrats are, so they are going to mostly have to focus on themselves before they can look outward. Meanwhile, House Democrats have been extremely successful fundraising, so they do not need as much help. If we look at fundraising on a more national level with Joe Biden and the RNC and the DNC, the RNC has actually out-fundraised the DNC. However, Donald Trump's approval rating being so low and his polling numbers so low, there is definitely more of a focus on propping up Donald Trump before they go after state houses. If Republicans want to win back the House of Representatives and want to ensure that Donald Trump is victorious, they're going to have to prioritize funding at the federal level before they do at the state level. Meanwhile, Democrats are in much better shape right now. Of course, Joe Biden is going to have to put forth massive amounts of money, but his fundraising numbers have been looking good in the last few months. In March and April and May, he has been increasing his fundraising lead over Donald Trump. Now I want to talk about polling numbers. Donald Trump is about as unpopular as he's ever been, with his disapproval rating nationally being at around 55.5%, and Joe Biden's polling lead being around 10 points above Donald Trump, finally breaking the 50% threshold. It means that Joe Biden essentially has a majority support among the Americans, and it's going to be extremely hard for Donald Trump to win that back. Now, why is national politics so important for winning a Texas State House election, you ask? Well, it's because of something called the coattail effect. At the national level, however much a president is leading by, typically that will correlate to around 0.5% on down ballot races. In Texas, they just eliminated down ballot voting, same party voting, or straight ticket voting. This was after the 2018 elections, which saw Beto O'Rourke do exceptionally well, run up really large margins in places like Harris County and Travis County and Dallas County, but also finally narrowly win Tarrant County. And because of down ballot voting, a lot of Republican incumbents lost. So Republicans statewide banned same party voting or down ballot voting. Now, the implications of this are unclear for Texas. Some people say that this will definitely hurt Democrats going into the 2020 elections, and it will make flipping the state house even harder. Some people say that it will actually hurt Republicans more than it hurts Democrats, as a lot of people coming to the polls are just going to be voting for Donald Trump and they aren't going to be voting for the rest of the Republican Party. So really, what the effect of this is kind of unclear. Personally, I really don't think that eliminating this will have such a strong effect. I think that as long as Joe Biden is remaining extremely competitive, Democrats have a very real chance at flipping the state house. Right now, if we look at polling in Texas, Joe Biden is only losing by around a half of a percentage point. If we remember in 2018, Beto O'Rourke lost by around 2% and he was able to flip 14 state house seats. If Democrats are able to finally come up and just get around even with Republicans, they have a very real shot at flipping the state house, especially with the massive amount of money that national Democrats have planned to pour into Texas races. Now let's talk a little bit more about demographics. So in the Texas State House, the suburban areas are becoming increasingly important. In Terrace County alone, there are 5 suburban districts that Democrats are planning on flipping in 2020. As suburban areas outside of major city centers grow with large population growths, the minority populations in them also grow. In Tarrant County, Hispanic populations now make up as much as 30% in some state house districts, and Hispanic voter registration is increasing at a higher rate than it is statewide and at the national level. All this means is that the Democrats definitely have a demographic advantage going into 2020. If they are just able to capitalize off of the large amount of minority populations that are growing in suburban areas, they will be able to flip key districts. Additionally, if we look at Donald Trump's approval rating and polling numbers among suburbans in Texas, they are not particularly strong. His approval rating is around 49% and his disapproval rating is around 46%. It's about the same levels that it was in 2018 in early November or late October. Additionally, in head-to-head polling, it seems as though Joe Biden and Donald Trump are about tied, and there are actually more people who are for certain going to vote for Joe Biden than there are for certain going to vote for Donald Trump. This means that Donald Trump is extremely vulnerable, and like I was saying earlier, that by extension also means that the state house is extremely vulnerable, especially because of these suburban voters. If Democrats are able to win a majority in the suburbs, then they are going to be able to win the 9 House seats that they need to take the Texas State House. But I do want to talk about a special election that a lot of Republicans have been pointing to as evidence that the Democratic Party is not as strong in Texas as they claim to be. In early 2020, Eliz Markowitz, a Democrat, ran against Gary Gates, a Republican, for an open House seat in Fort Bend County, which is a suburb of Houston. Fort Bend County is one of the most diverse areas in the country, and it has extremely low voter turnout rates among some minority populations. Eliz Markowitz essentially staked her campaign on being able to turn out voters who don't traditionally turn out. This is a House seat that Beto O'Rourke only lost by around 3 points. However, Eliz Markowitz lost the special election by around 20 points, even after large national endorsements, large fundraising numbers, and unprecedented door-knocking campaigns. However, Gary Gates also had a lot of support from Texans. Governor Greg Abbott endorsed him, and some national Republicans endorsed him. Additionally, he self-funded, so he actually spent more money in the district than Eliz Markowitz, and he had large campaigns of door-knocking as well. I don't think that the special election is as relevant as people might argue that it is, and this is just because Fort Bend County is a county that was just recently turned blue, and it's also one that doesn't necessarily turn out in non-election years. So I think that in 2020, instead of being a special election, it will have a lot higher turnout numbers for the Democratic Party. If we look at the primaries, right after this special election, Democrats actually did extremely well. And so right now in Harris County, in Tarrant County, and in Dallas County, Democrats are more optimistic than ever about their chances of flipping the state house, even after that sort of devastating loss by Eliz Markowitz in Fort Bend County. So you might be thinking, why should I care about the Texas State House? And I will tell you that state houses are extremely important for the balance of power at the national level. If Texas Democrats are able to flip just the state house, then they will be able to ensure that in 2020, a non-partisan congressional map is drawn, giving Texans equal and equitable representation. This will mean that Democrats will pick up seats in the Texas House, and that Republicans are not able to re-gerrymander district lines. In 2010, Republicans were able to draw lines that were heavily favoring their party because they controlled the governor's house and both chambers of the state legislature. This would not be possible in 2020 if Democrats were able to flip the state house. And Texas is going to gain 3 House seats, so it will be extremely important. Additionally, the Texas State House provides funding for education, for healthcare, as well as police funding, 3 areas that are extremely important to voters going into the 2020 election. While Donald Trump and Joe Biden's fight for the White House may be taking all of the attention, I would definitely implore you to explore different races that are going on because there are ones that are just as important. In fact, some people have actually argued that state houses are where power really starts at the national level because they are able to draw the districts, because they are able to set the groundwork for voting laws. Texas made student IDs a non-acceptable form of voter ID, however they made gun licenses an acceptable form of voter ID. This is the kind of voter suppression that directly correlates to who gets elected and who gets put in office. So what I want to do is look at the map of Texas state house districts. I went through and labeled all the ones that are safe Republicans. For the Democratic parties, any houses that they currently controlled, I put a solid blue just for the argument of it. Lightest shade of red are the House districts that were actually won by Beto O'Rourke and came extremely close in 2018. The ones that are a little shade darker are the ones that were just barely lost by Beto O'Rourke, and one shade darker were the ones that were lost by Beto by 5 points or more. If you look in the areas of Harris County, Tarrant County, and Dallas County, and all around them, there are a shocking amount of House seats that are competitive. This is because these counties are growing extremely quickly, and their suburban areas are growing, and as the suburban exodus from the Republican Party takes place, Democrats are becoming extremely competitive. So I definitely think that Democrats have the ability to win the Texas State House in 2020 and drastically shape national politics. I do think that right now Republicans hold the advantage. Democrats are going to have to win 9 out of 22 of these races and not lose a single seat. And in a state that leans Republican, that could be extremely hard. Beto O'Rourke was an extremely strong candidate, and he lost by 2 points. Right now, Joe Biden is closer to winning than Beto O'Rourke was. However, we will see what happens as November comes closer. Right now, if the poll numbers continue, I definitely think that Democrats have a very strong chance at flipping the state house if they're able to register and turn out voters like they are anticipating. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, but also please comment what you think the results of the state house election will be, and any future video ideas that you have, or really just any critiques that you have for my channel. It would mean a lot. Thank you.